We're in lockdown. Who knows what day it is? Happy Sunday, everyone.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Hello to everyone who's joining us in the Twitch chat, everyone who's watching on YouTube, listening via podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Whatever medium you are listening or watching or experiencing this through, feel free to sound off on whatever platform you're currently doing so. We'd love to get to know you. And as ever, we have a couple of thanks, not just to you, but also to our assistant dungeon managers on Patreon, Graham Muir and Rory O'Sullivan. As ever, they've been with us for over a year now, which is amazing, and you are amazing, and thank you so much. Thank you to all of you as well. I feel like it's sort of in 2021, it's so nice to just continuing to be doing this as well. And also, you should check out Zavi as well. They have a great line of D&D clothing and merchandise, t-shirts, mugs, bags. You should be able to use the code Dungeon10, Dungeon20 to get...
It might be updated, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So we'll update the code. For now, it's Dungeon10 and Dungeon20, but it might be different. So if it is different, we will put that in the description.
Yes. But if those chats are still working, or those codes are still working, they'll get you 10% off the site and 20% off all clothing related to their Dungeons and Dragons merchandise. And if you would like to follow us on social media, you can do. You can follow us on Twitch. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can also find all of our own content, not just this campaign, but also all of our one-shots as well. And if podcasting is more your scene, you can check us out on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean. And as mentioned earlier, if you'd like to check us out on Patreon, you can also support us there. And you can find lots of lovely goodies, including maps, stat blocks, magic items, and more besides. I think that's everything. My brain is addled with tiredness, so let's jump straight in as we step out of the office, away from work, and into the world of Dungeon Manager. Previously on Dungeon Manager. Back in Waterdeep, a place that is markedly less friendly. Now your names are infamous within criminal circles and a bounty placed upon your head by the leader of the Forked Tongue. You have found your paths brought inextricably towards a man called Ik'reth Marl, working for an organization called the Ivory Silent. They are responsible for the loss of an ancient dwarven artifact previously in Dalafar's possession, a battle axe named Snaga. As for Ik'reth himself, he appears also to be caught up in a continent-wide conspiracy orchestrated by another organization known as the First Church. Whether the two are related has yet to be ascertained. Confronting Ik'reth in his abode of Seaspire Manor, you engaged in a vicious battle against both the wizard and the remains of a creature from his homeland, the skeleton of a dragon. Clashing in the remains of his tower as a large crowd gathered at its base. During the fight, Oriana, you were banished by the elf, flung to the peak of a mountain you know only too well from your visions, and at its peak, a figure of great interest to you. Eventually dragged back, you found Ik'reth defeated and humbled by the group. Surrounded and with nowhere to go, he surrendered to you, his fate in your hands. So as you stand in the remains of this tower, snow softly falling through the gaps in the roof and through the walls, Ik'reth in front of you, one arm currently held by Zini's tiger mouth, and the sound talking and exclamations from the ground below, some several stories. What would you like to do?
Dalifar, I pull myself up over the edge and just stroll over. I assume I'm so large I don't need to jump that gap. That
step across, and as you do so, and you see Oriana clutching Ik'reth round his lapels, and you see Scarlet with her fire, and Zini growling, and Terra stood to one side, arms crossed, and Mist looking towards you. You slowly shrink down to size as you approach Ik'reth, who looks at you, hair over his face, snarling, and still.
I should point out that my haste has faded, so I'm gonna fall asleep. Not really asleep, but I'm gonna sit on a... well, is the tower still falling apart?
Now that the dragon has fallen off the edge, it is very much crumbled, but there's no longer any pressure being exerted or dragging any of it down. It is precarious, but nothing appears to be moving.
I'm going to sit down and lean on a wall and close my eyes.
So as you lean to one side, you find the remnants of Ik'reth's desk, and you prop yourself against it. And you see scattered on the floor a number of papers, but of particular note, as your eyes softly drift, you see blueprints. Blueprints that you last observed in Candlekeep. And as Terra falls to sleep, or at least rests her eyes to one side, what are the rest of you doing?
Just a quick question. Did we all know about the blueprints? Because I think we had a discussion after the spy mission.
Yes, you have all talked about it, and you know some names associated with it. Skyblade, Spelljammer, but as to its nature, you don't know.
I go to Mist and sort of gesture to the papers and go, the blueprints, if you don't mind, could you gather them up? We'll take them with us.
Of course. And with that, they leap across the gap and start to rifle through the drawers, gathering anything that might be of use. And Ik'reth looks after them, and then back at you.
I told you it was not a wise idea.
So what now?
First, you tell me where he is.
I imagine the next step after that is that you all gut me or you feed me to this tiger here. Which isn't much of an incentive, I have to say.
No?
When he... And look at him disgusted at the idea that I would ever eat him.
Well, currently, I am undecided of what to do with you. And clearly, as you can see, we are very, very capable. So, the outcome of our little chat will depend entirely on you. Where is he?
Are you sure you want to continue this conversation somewhere so precarious?
It might be more precarious if you were to lose an arm and try to scramble up. Where is he?
Make an intimidation check at advantage, considering the tiger and Oriana and Scarlet, and let's give her a credit, Juliet as well.
Intimidation? That is a 4. That's a disadvantage. Oh, sorry, that's advantage.
He looks at you and just... You've come so far and for so little, Dalifar. You really think I would give up the information that I have on Laris, on the Ivory Silent, over a little grudge match?
Zini, Just a little bit. Sink your teeth in.
Sit back on my haunches and look quite haughtily at Dalafar, as if to say, "You ain't the boss of me."
If you wouldn't mind, please.
And
I'll do it. But I'm still half asleep.
then I shrug and then go to just nibble on his knee, the leg I already bit.
He. You know, when we last met, Lady Zini, I rather thought you more civilized than this.
I just bite harder.
In your own time, you've got plenty more limbs.
Ask your questions, dwarf.
Where is he?
Waiting for you. I suppose, in my own small way, I guess this is my way of playing my part in his game. Bringing you to him. He is in the spine of the World Mountains, in a peak called Astilabas Moor.
Who's with him?
The rest of us. But you've met them already, haven't you? I seem to remember you were rather the worse for wear after that.
Zini?
I'll just twist head slightly.
I have no patience for games. This might be a game for you and for him, but it is far more important to me. So you'll forgive me if I don't waste the time to try and reason with you.
You don't understand, Dalafar. This game you speak of between him and you, it has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the work that we are doing. It is an embarrassment. It is a distraction from the work that needs to be done.
What work is that?
He looks you up and down. I tell you now, in comparison to that trinket that you seek, it is far beyond what you could possibly imagine. Your small mind seeking an artifact from your homeland.
I just bite deeper.
I see your friend already gathering up my blueprints over there. Documents. And I take it was that which you were looking into when I sensed you outside the wilting snowdrop in Baldur's Gate, when I had the pleasure of making the acquaintance of Lady Scarlet and Lady Zini. I imagine the rest of you are with him as well.
Perhaps. I've been traveling lately. I can't remember the last places I was sometimes.
How very fortunate for you.
Your work.
It is called the Skyblade. A very ancient artifact from a world long forgotten, known as a spell jammer.
And what does this spell jammer
Laris.
do?
It is impossibly old. Stories say that they were airborne ships, vehicles that could traverse even the very stars themselves, traveling between worlds as easily as you and I walk from one end of the continent to the other. In order to control this artifact, one merely had to sit at its helm, and the ship responds to the wearer's every whim. Now, as far as I was concerned, these were lost myth stories, little more than hopeful legends amongst scholars. So imagine my surprise when I not only found out that blueprints had been discovered, taken to Candlekeep, but that someone else was looking for them.
Who else?
If you had followed me this far, I imagine you know the answer to that already. The First Church.
It's funny, Ik'reth. You deride me for looking for an artifact, a trinket as you so called it. And yet here you are, looking for a long-lost trinket of sorts. How similar, and yet you look down on me from your high tower.
To equate your tawdry battle axe with a weapon of this magnitude would be as if comparing a gnat to me.
And yet here you are, no matter how powerful your trinket, you are here in this precarious position. Funny, isn't it?
From a certain perspective, I suppose.
Does he know where I am?
I suppose that all depends on what you do with me, isn't it?
Well, the odds of you leaving here unharmed are looking slimmer by the second. If I were to let you go, you no doubt either retaliate at some point because I know your vindictive nature.
I'm flattered.
And yet you will also tell him where I am and of my companions. You see how your options narrow.
He is already waiting. Whether you come for him or no at this stage matters little. But of the other information I've told you, that he is unlikely to forgive.
See, unlike you, I travel with companions that I trust wholeheartedly.
Oh, you do not understand. I would give my life willingly to him. He saved me, as he hopes to save all of you.
It's a funny word for you, save, when all you've done up to this point is leave nothing but carnage. So,
You have no idea, do you, dwarf?
I know what I am, and yet you use it to belittle me. Do not be so eager to look down on me, Ik'reth.
It is so very hard when you are so very short.
I'll just bite into his kneecap.
And he, at this, falls to the ground, now shorter than you, Dalifar, as he kneels on the ground, his black hair clinging to his forehead in sweat.
And I'll just let go and then slink behind Dalifar.
It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? So, I will not just make a decision based solely on how much of a threat I know you pose. I will ask for a vote, whether to spare you or spare the world of your existence. And from the looks of things, I think Ori, as Dalfa just turns to Ori, has a few questions for you. And trust me, she's not as lenient as I have been. And I just step aside.
Do I know where it is that he banished me to, specifically?
No more than the visions you have seen in your dreams.
Okay. Okay, in that case, I want to ask, where is it that you sent me?
I have no idea.
How can you have no idea? You're the one that sent me there.
The spell merely banishes someone to what is meant to be a harmless demiplane. Why? See something you like?
No, I was just interested. Is there any way to find out?
Not that I would know.
Well, in that case, you're useless to me.
So,
He leans back against the wall, clutching his now very bleeding leg and just holding it in place as blood just ekes out.
I took the advice of a dear friend. And whilst it will be in everyone's interest that you are no longer here, I'll let all of us decide. And I turn to Zini. Your call.
Ed, can I just check? Was he telling the truth when he said about not knowing anything, or specifically that he had no idea where she would have gone, or whether there was a way to find out?
Make an insight check.
Okay. 12.
Seems to be telling the truth.
Okay. So I'll drop my tiger form as the leaves start to drift again, and Zini weaves her way back. You're right that he's a threat. But I told you not to lose yourself in this.
I know.
I vote we don't kill him.
Does anybody have an opposite view on this?
I'll stand up by the desk and walk over to join. We don't gain anything by leaving him alive, but we certainly avoid a lot of problems if we don't.
As you walk over and you all look at one another, you hear a faint chuckle from where Ik'reth sits as he looks at you, Terra. I know. Oh my. Oh my. Dalifar. And he beckons you over.
I lean in.
And he leans forward and whispers in your ear. Ask her where she got that sword. and then leans back against the wall. It is amazing how fate seems to intertwine us all, isn't it? Of course.
Well, Scarlet?
I don't have any particular strong thoughts either way. He can live or die. It's no skin off my nose.
In that case, I think the majority says you keep your life.
Did Oriana vote? Wouldn't she be the deciding vote?
No, because we'll hit. We'll hit it. We'll hit a stalemate because Dalafar wants.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we'll hit a stalemate, so he gets to keep his life. And then Dalafar just sort of tightens the grip on his axe and just turns to Ik'reth. You get to keep your life. But the punishment for a thief in some places, a taking of the hand, and proceeds to lop one of his hands off at the wrist.
There is and Ik'reth doesn't scream. You see his eyes redden and a tear fall down his cheek as he just bites his tongue, shakes a bit.
Consider this a mercy.
I hope I see you all again.
I wouldn't be so eager to hope. For the next time, it won't be down to a group discussion on your life. I will take it.
And next time, I won't be alone.
Delphi just rises, goes over to Mist, and asks for the blueprints.
Here you are.
Thank you.
There's quite a crowd gathering below, I would suggest.
Yes. We will. Let's go. So Delphi starts to head towards the stairs.
What are the rest of you doing?
I'm going to wait until everyone's left.
Yeah, get him.
Does Dalafar notice that Ori's just staying behind?
If you're heading straight towards the door, it is an immediate spiral staircase. Unless you are lingering, your view would probably be blocked by everyone joining.
I just keep going then.
I think Scarlet will sort of dust herself down, check that Juliet is still there and not trying to eat the hand. We all know what cats are like.
You sort of have to pick her up chunky cat style as all 6 of her legs just...
It's like, no, darling, it's unhygienic. Well, until an as and yet decided future, Ik'reth. I must say I preferred your home before the redecoration, but needs must, I suppose. And I give him a nod and walk away.
Zini and Terra, are you following?
I can't hear you.
Sorry, Michael, I can't hear you.
Muted, so you should be able to.
There we go.
Okay, it just dropped me out. I wait.
Okay.
And I fold my arms, looking at Oriana.
Tara, are you staying or are you going?
I was going to stay.
So as the other three leave, the three of you stand in an almost perfect semicircle around Ik'reth, who just lies against the wall, clutching his knee and his hand a short distance away from the arm, which he now clutches underneath his other armpit.
I'm going to give a meaningful look to Oriana. Interpretable. And then I'm going to leave, but I'm going to wait and hide on the other side of the door.
Okay, make a stealth check for me. I realised we didn't roll our new hit points at the beginning of the session.
We'll do that once we get back to the pub.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We were just too excited to threaten and maim.
Our heroes!
Yay!
14.
14. You dip behind. Oriana, you do not notice this, but Zini, out of the corner of your eye, you see Terra hiding in the shadows.
Just out of game, have I ever, I can't remember whether I've ever asked Ik'reth anything about Azil or anything.
You haven't, no.
Okay.
This is the first time you've met, so you've made quite an impression on it.
Yay! Okay. I'm gonna cast Zone of Truth.
Okay, what's the DC?
Oh. Dooba-dooba-doo. It is... remind me again, is that my spell attack bonus?
So your spell DC is 8 plus your spellcasting modifier plus your proficiency, I believe.
Okay, so... 8... Yeah, it's 15.
15. Man, just failed.
What's the radius of that?
It's 15 foot.
What was the stat that I needed?
It's 15.
No, but is it a wisdom save or?
Oh, it will be charisma.
Oh, it's charisma. Okay, yeah, I succeeded. 21.
That's fine. You also get +3 if you're within 10 feet of me, so you're fine.
Ik'reth doesn't, presumably.
No, only friendly creatures.
But you know that I've succeeded, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm not sure whether I know, but
think
any.
yeah.
But he.
The
Yeah.
caster knows, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Does the name Azil mean anything to you?
He looks at you. I have heard of the name in my travels. Why?
Why don't you tell me what you've heard?
Well, the stories are conflicting. Different regions seem to have different myths associated, but one commonality seems to be this. He was an apprentice, follower, champion, whatever he was in the employ of a necromancer by the name of Pestis Zalen. Zalen wished for godhood. he did not achieve it. But Azil did, and with such ferocity the 9 hells trembled, and the abyss was almost torn asunder. Such was his shame that he retreated to the material plane, wandering, hoping for redemption, if such a thing exists. Whether he is dead or still alive, I do not know. Nor do I know if he is in any way real or imagined. Why are you chasing stories?
I turn to Zini. Are we sure that keeping him alive is the right choice?
Partly because we couldn't kill him, but I don't know whether it's the right choice. But I don't want to dirty our hands any further than they have been.
My hands.
Certainly not with someone like him.
My hands are already dirty enough. I don't have any issue with getting them a little dirtier.
I'd like to step into the room. Zini, if you leave now, you'll have no knowledge. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, your mic is a little bit low.
Sorry, my internet's being a bit of a pain. Yes, I will. I know you both quite well now.
Then wouldn't you choose a decision that results in the protection of your friends?
Beat him once, and he wasn't alone. Killing is not a protection. Not always. We've seen what it can do. How enemies tend to multiply. How vengeance begins a cycle. Either you respect the group and you think us capable, and you trust the group's judgment, or you don't. And if you don't, this group's not going to last much longer.
Fine. And I start to walk away. I'll turn over my shoulder as I walk away and say, don't get mad when I say I told you so. And I just keep walking.
You sweep past Terra, leaving Zini and Terra in the room. Ik'reth looks across. She has spirit.
Can I do one final glance around the room to see if there's anything that looks important?
Yeah, make an investigation check.
Oh, I just got a bonus to that. I didn't roll that great. Okay. 21.
21, okay. Looking around the room and the remnants of the bookcases and drawers and cabinets that you see all around, It is chaos. There is not a lot. But near to you, one of the intact bookcases, you see what looks to be a scroll, similar to those that you have seen upon frequenting shops that sell magical items. You see, fallen off a display case, what looks to be a small, perfectly spherical black stone that seems to only absorb light. There is no reflection in it at all. It is like a small, portable... it is spherical, but to your eye, it looks almost like a 2D circle on the ground, even as you look around it. And in another smashed display case, you see a small golden, what looks to be a necklace. And at its end, two small golden hands holding a red ruby. And as you look towards Ik'reth, you also see that fallen out of his pocket, there is what you recognize to be a sending stone.
Okay, so I'm going to walk very casually around the room, picking up all of these things and putting them in my bag, and then I'm going to walk over to him and take the sending stone. And if he starts to talk, I'm not going to acknowledge it. And then I'm just going to walk out of the room.
As Terra leaves, Ik'reth turns to you, Zuni. Are you going to kill me then?
I could. Easily. But I'm going to spare your life. And as far as I'm aware, that means you owe me.
Does it now?
I never want to see you again. If I do, then Oriana gets to tell me that she told me so. And she might just prove her point by caving your head in. You seem to be a clever man. Prove me right.
A group of 5 against the world. What a foolish, happy bunch you are.
Not very many of us are happy. Don't let me see you again, Ik'reth. I mean it.
He leans back and just looks at you with his dark eyes. And he smiles. The game continues.
You're right, though. The game's a distraction. And to the rest of us, it isn't a game. And I walk away.
He just watches you. And as you walk down the spiral staircase, he disappears from view, broken and leaning against the wall, holding himself together. So, as a group, as you continue down the stairs, occasionally having to make your way around the very real chunks that have been torn out, and as you move down to the bedroom area, you continue on down, and you're met with a door. It looks to be a door, but as you walk past it, you see that lying dead on the floor, sort of stretched out almost like putty. The door seems to have fangs that stretch out of it, and Scarlet, you recognize this to be a mimic, but it is dead, crushed by mortar and debris. Doubtless, had you come this way, it would have been another distraction, but you continue on, and you see a caved-in table in its center, great and wooden, and on its surface, broken and splintered, you see a map of Faerun. And as you make your way through and out the door on the other side of this bottom level of the tower, you see that in pillars around, or what remain, you see what look to be small blue glowing orbs. This, you would know, is a permanent private sanctum, now long since sputtered away because of all of the chaos and confusion and the breakage of the tower. But it would have made a very, very secure meeting room once. And as you all make your way out of this, you find yourself in a great open entrance hall. Red carpet lines the floor, and you can see display cabinets, some of them completely caved in on account of the roof that has been almost entirely destroyed. And lying in the center of this wreckage, you see the bone creature lying in pieces across the floor. You see a couple of bodies around as well, the sea wolves lying dead, some of them ripped apart. But beyond this, outside, beyond the walls of the garden, you can hear voices. A large crowd, and you hear other voices above this. Get back! Get back! Come on! This is no place for citizens! Get back! It is quite a commotion.
Probably shouldn't go out the front door.
No. Do we see any way to get out besides that front door?
Make a perception check for me.
Can I also look?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is a 19.
I'm not even gonna bother.
Looking around, you can see that the front door is still sort of from the seawolves breaking in, is creaking on its hinges a bit, and beyond this, as it flaps open and shut, you can see the front gate also broken in. And you see that outside, a number of City Watch in the traditional green and yellow garb of Waterdeep are standing guard, clearly waiting for some kind of order to enter. Looking around from here, it seems the only way out would be over one of the garden walls.
Okay. So the garden wall. So if I remember correctly, the garden wall is, well, the gate is directly ahead of us out the door, right?
Yeah, and the garden stretches around the entire manor, and then there's garden wall around it.
So if we were to go sort of in the opposite direction, we can basically scale that wall, and there'll be no guards there.
Hard to tell if there will be no guards, but there certainly won't be.
They saw us come in, they can see us leave.
They didn't see us come in.
But they're not the guards in the fight?
No.
They were the silent, not the city guards.
Oh, right.
They weren't city guards. So I suggest, so I turned to everyone and said, I suggest we try and get over the back wall if we don't want to be seen. Terra, do you think you can go invisible and get over the wall first to see if if the coast is clear?
I'm happy to try without being invisible, but it can be. I can just have a peek first.
So Delphi heads round the opposing wall, so directly opposite the front gate.
Is everyone following?
Whilst Terror is scouting, can I just have a quick look over the dragon bones and see if there's any shards worthy of taking?
So I would say quick glance over. The bones are very big. They are very, very big. But as you're...
a tooth or a claw.
Yeah, I was about to say, as you sort of look over, you can see that the detached skull crashed through the roof and created a sort of separate amount of debris near the center of the room. And as you look at this skull that is rested on these crushed mahogany tables. You imagine that this room was quite beautiful when it was still intact, but as dust hangs around, you see that there are some very large teeth, some almost as large as Dalifar. But as you look around, you can see that there are a few that you could probably prize free. They'd be quite large and quite heavy, but portable.
Okay. Could I grab a couple?
Yeah, sure. I'll say you can probably grab around 3.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, Tara, what you do?
So I'm going to try and pull myself up just so I'm hanging at the top of the wall so I can poke my head over the top rather than actually getting up onto it.
So as you look over, you can see that while there are a few people, bear in mind it's very late at night and the moon still hangs above and the streets are, for the most part, quiet and covered in snow. You can see a few people are going round the edges towards the front, and you get the sense, especially as you move towards the back, that most of the commotion is out front. And as you look over the top, you can see that there seems to be no one at least paying attention to this area. There are a couple of buildings around, all of them beautifully maintained, as you know, in Seaward, but a couple of the lights are on, and you can see a few people at the windows with small candles, like looking towards the direction of the front gate, but no one seems to be paying attention to the street.
So I'm going to get up onto the wall, crouch down, so I'm not very visible, and then stay there to keep an eye out and get everyone over.
Okay, sure thing. So, what is everyone else doing?
I start to give people, effectively leg ups because I think I'm the strongest one here, so I'll just sort of help everyone sort of get up over the wall quickly.
Okay, so if everyone can make a strength check for me. Not strength, stealth check for me, please.
Could I cast Pass Without Trace before we start?
You can, absolutely.
So everybody plus 10.
An extra 10.
Yeah, plus 10. And how tall is the wall?
It's around 15 feet, 20 feet, so it's not
Okay.
too tall.
Let me check. Because it depends how close everybody is to me, whether we take advantage of my weird stealth aura or not.
19, by the way, Michael.
If I get the bonus, then I've just done the highest roll I've ever done.
Yeah, it's within 15 feet of me if they can use my stealth score instead.
Yeah, so I'd say they can get to the top still using it, and then on the other side, like, the actual width of the wall is only, 5 feet, so...
Okay, yeah, so you get plus 10 anyway, but if you roll low, you might get to use mine if I roll high, which I might not. Although, would I get advantage because of the Cloak of Elvenkind or not?
I'd say not with this, because this is less sight. It's more making sure you're not hurt by anyone around.
Okay.
I got a 35. From a 15 roll.
Mine's 26.
Cool. So everyone is able to hop over one by one until, Dalifar, you start to hear voices getting closer towards the manor house, as you hear quite a familiar voice, actually, from someone who clearly appears to be in charge, going, "Fan out! Let's ascertain what's happened." And you hear armored boots as you bring yourself up onto the wall and down. And terror, as everyone comes over the top, you gently drop down, all of you together.
So are they coming towards us?
They're basically in the confines of the garden and the manor house property now, so
right,
they're just
okay.
yeah.
I suggest we get a move on. I can try and take us a shortcut.
Sure. Do I place the voice? Do I remember who it was, the familiar voice?
Make a perception check for me. No, make it an insight, because you recognise the voice, but...
Insight is a dirty 20.
You recognise this to be Captain Willard Stockman, who you had who, when you first came to Waterdeep, employed you for a couple of jobs, including the flesh golem job.
Okay.
So can I take everyone through alleyways and stuff?
Yep. So, quickly, quietly, under the cover of night, now without the sea wolves beside you, you continue through. And Mist brings up a disguise as well, making themselves look sort of as plain as they can. And as you all make your way through the alleyways and you continue past what you now see to be a very, very large crowd, and you hear voices, "I saw a dragon! No, not so near the coast." And as you walk past, you see a number of City Watch all standing around with halberds, trying to keep the crowd at bay. And Zini, as you continue on and glance through the crowd, you see one of the soldiers, slightly smaller than the other, but again, a face that is familiar to you. It is a very young boy. It is Peter. Peter, who Dalifar argued to be let into the City Watch rather than be punished for his crimes. And he stands there saying, "All right, back, please. Thank you, yep." And you all continue out of Seaward until eventually you find yourself back at the Slumbering Drow, passing the Nith Beasts and Rudigan, all of whom look towards you from the stable. Rudigan in particular looks very happy to see you, Zini. The Nith Beasts are a bit more non-committal, but they do see each of you and then go back to eating an inordinate amount of meat that has been piled up before them. It looks like scraps. But as you arrive, Mist puts a hand on your shoulder, Dalifar, and simply says, "I think after tonight, you all deserve a rest."
And I very quietly say to Mist, "Thank you. But I think Ik'reth is still a danger. Keep an eye on him."
I will be in touch.
Take their hand.
Did they give us the blueprints and stuff back?
Yeah, I took them already at the manor.
Don't leave.
Okay.
Good luck, all of you.
You too.
You know how to reach me.
I nod.
With that, they pull up their hood, look towards you all, and disappear into the night.
Can I ask a question about the world?
Yes.
So, I'm just thinking, here's my thought process. So if Ik'reth now tells all the guards who we were, that we stole loads of stuff from him, all that kind of thing, like obviously then we would be wanted criminals. But this is also a place where mercenary bands are a thing. You can just like hire random unofficial people to like do stuff for you. So how does that work together? Like a hired mercenary is illegal? You know, like
I think it depends on the work. Like if it was, I want to hire some mercenaries to go and slay a troll that has been terrorizing the villages, that would be fine.
But a troll hasn't been trialed. So what determines who is okay to be slain and who isn't?
I mean, I think if we start delving into the morality of D&D, we might...
But in your world...
Yes.
What is that based on?
I mean, sort of like a lot of particularly kind of... because this is kind of like a Germanic, vaguely Euro kind of analogy. Like there was a lot of kind of... kind of trial by... So I think, honestly, it depends on the individual who is being harmed. Like, if you were all sent, for example, to go and attack a private citizen, which Ik'reth may well fall under, you don't know, then, yeah, there's a possibility, unless you had very good evidence and very good cause, that you could be tried. But, like, something like a troll or something like that, probably people like, we're going to assume that's bad news, which is bad and reductive, but yeah.
Okay, it's good to know.
Maybe I should come up with like like a Bible for like the kind of laws of this land.
But then you'd have to have like a new one for each city.
Yeah.
It's the whole
Yeah,
thing.
because I imagine it will probably differ quite dramatically depending on what city you're in.
If you go to a troll city,
All those trolls.
But also on class as well, you know, if it's a person.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's another thing to bear in mind. Like, it's a very public attack on the most gentrified and most upper class area of the city. So, I don't know. I guess these are things to bear in mind.
and these are all things Terror is thinking right now as we come back to Iron.
This conversation, this is like Inside Out, but for terror. I don't know what emotion.
You're
it
all
is.
my imagination.
Yeah.
They all represent a different part of me. That would be a good campaign.
So, as you arrive back at the Slumbering Drow, what are you all doing?
I'm going to voice my concerns. Seeing as we decided as a group to keep him alive, I think we should now face the consequences. He may well send the guards straight to us. So we need to bear that in mind right now.
Well, something you said, and I think this just goes on to what will be the next step. Are we going after Ostafar?
I'm going after Ostafar.
My business here is concluded, so I will come with you.
I think we need to find somewhere else to go, study these blueprints. I found some other cool stuff we could maybe have a look at. But I don't think that we should take the risk of staying here.
We leave tonight then, unless anyone has any objections.
I must say, from the fight, my magical reserves are running a little low, but not low enough that I would be unable to create a hut for us.
Then I suggest we take our mounts, ride as far as we can before we're tired, and then make camp. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any objections?
Nope.
Okay.
So, paying up, which I will calculate and let you all know so we don't halt things too much, but you pay for your time.
It's a
And
big assumption, Ed.
Yeah, we just leave.
you double down on your reputation as criminals and you just leave. And Axel takes your room keys and you recover your mounts, your myth beasts, and Rudigan, and I'm assuming Epona, unless you don't want to draw too much attention.
We already
Yes.
have these.
With myth beasts. That's not.
Just don't want to take it too far.
Yeah, let's take her along for the ride. Yeah, why not?
So, conjuring this ghost horse up as well. Again, the streets are quiet, and while City Watch do patrol, they seem to pay you very little mind, or what mind they do pay you is mainly at the strangeness of the group's makeup as you make your way out through the main road of Waterdeep, along paving stones, galloping, out, past the various wards, past houses and wattle and daub buildings, and thatched roofs and tiles, until eventually you ride out across the drawbridge, out of the north gate, and you continue riding, looking behind every now and again to see the lights of Waterdeep flickering in the distance. Snow lies heavy on the land around you. It does not fall, but you ride until eventually you stop. Looking around, it looks as though the land itself is open. You see no one following. You have a good vantage point. I assume you make camp.
Yeah, it seems a good place.
Okay.
Can I, whenever we make camp, I'll just say this now, whenever we make camp for maybe 20 minutes, what I'm going to do is Dalafar's going to try and sort of be very familiar with the Nith Beast in the fact that it can follow very simple commands, you know, like to stay in one place or to go after something in attacking or other, and use like the reward system, like feed it a bit of meat when it gets something wrong. Right, sorry. And not so reinforced learning, I think, just to help speed it up. And
The Tonks system.
yeah, it's sort of that sort of animal handling, sort of just basically get it as used to me as being sort of it follows what I say or gesture.
Okay. I'll say make an animal handling check for me. See if this works. It already seems like fine being ridden.
It
Are
is.
you doing this just for your one or for all of them?
I think for all of them then.
Okay. Yep.
25.
It's very effective. It seems like as soon as you bring out a bit of meat, they all just and their eyes very wide. And you notice that as you move the chunk of meat, they all just and you're able to reinforce some good behavior. It will take a couple of days, you think, before they understand every command, but we'll say that this folds into the next couple of days. We'll assume that you are just doing this.
Yes,
It will take approximately 2 days, I can tell you.
yeah, so I will continue to do this over and over and over again, so that so if they get a treat, if they get it right, and if they don't get a treat.
And Zini, it has to be said, you watch this with, it's quite impressive actually. Like, this is a creature that none of you have had any experience before, really. And Dalafar seem to latch onto exactly what makes them tick, which is fresh meat, which is reassuring, if a little bit worrying.
Can I just, like, in the background, can I see that Dalafar is doing this and, like, commands opponent to, like, lie down and do, like, you know, flips in the air and...
Make an Arcana check.
I just mutter under my breath, fucking traitors.
That would be a dirty 20.
Epona just looks at you with a... And then as you give her a look, she just looks, and you, almost imperceptibly, you see her shake her skull and then lie on the ground. Bony legs flip over the top as she just melts snow as she rolls over, stands up, stands on her hind legs, just looks down at you with a... and then back down on the ground, the snow steaming around her.
I look over at Dalafar and just...
Gesture just holds up, it just looks it over and then just holds up 3 fingers going, 3.
I have a very slight smile on my face momentarily, and then it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Zini notices it with a crazy high passive.
I don't care about any of this.
So, as animals are cavorting around the rest of you, Terra and Scarlet, what are you doing?
Nothing, I don't think.
Okay.
Jess, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I was saying I need to unmute myself while I was muted, which did not help matters. So I will. Now I have leveled up to level 9.
Oh.
I have another 4th level spell slot, so I can do Private Sanctum, which before I'd used it all up. So I will do that around the area where we're going to camp, and then I will make a tiny hut.
Okay.
Or I'd like to look at the stuff I picked up.
Okay. So as Scarlet sort of goes around the perimeter and then eventually creates this tiny dome once everyone is within the same space, the mount's perfectly happy to be hitched outside, especially considering the amount of meat that the Nith beasts have been fed. They seem fairly sated, but all of you are once again in nice, warm, spherical hut.
I don't remember what I picked up. I just wrote down sending stone and necklace.
You had an orb of some kind.
Oh yes, yeah, like an infinity orb thing.
So it was an orb, a black orb.
Yeah.
It was a necklace.
Yeah.
And there was a scroll and a sending stone.
Okay. So can I look at the scroll? Because I feel like I'll actually potentially know what that is.
Okay.
Because it should say.
Make an Arcana check for me, real quick.
Oh dear. Oh dear. 17.
17. Looking at it, it is hard to decipher and seems to be written in some kind of code system. But you are able to decipher a couple of words that are written in common. And one of them is meteors, and the other appears to be a name, which is Melf.
If something's written in code, can I use comprehend languages to understand the code?
I'd say I'd say with this, because it's a magic scroll, it would probably be an Arcana check you'd need to make to try and decipher it.
So I'd need to use the spell and then do an Arcana check, or just do an Arcana check?
Well, it's not necessarily that it's in a different language. It's that, like, for example, if something was written, like Thieves' Cant, for example,
Yeah.
like it's something that can...
Does that not count as a new language then?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. What was the name, sorry?
Melf.
Melf with an M.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will... who's intelligent? I'll just hold it into the air, no one in particular, and say, someone have a go at this. No, okay, and then I'll just drop it on the floor.
Scarlett's fairly intelligent-ish.
Well, it's on the floor in the middle, so whoever wants it. And then, we're all sitting together, are we?
Yeah, you're all together underneath that dome.
So I'll take out the sending stone and sort of hold it up for everyone. This was on Ik'reth. Are we at any risk of... there's always a pair, isn't there, to a sending stone? The person who has the pair, they can't tell where this one is, presumably.
From my knowledge of sending stones, do I know whether or not this is the case?
Make an Arcana check.
Indeed I will. That's a 13.
So, from your knowledge, it can only be used to send messages. As far as you are aware, there is no means of tracking where the stone is. It is just a message per long rest.
But they could obviously someone could use the locate object spell, couldn't they? For that stone.
Very possibly, yeah.
I suggest I hold on to it, since if they do send a message, it would most likely be from the person I'm looking for.
That makes sense. I'll check it out.
Does it look that different from the sending stones we have? Sorry if I missed this.
So the stones that I was about to say that Dalafar and Tara have, but they seem to swap hands. So that's the
I've
group
got mine again.
that the group collectively own. They're made from sort of more of a browny sandstony kind of material. The one that Dalafar is currently taking seems to be made of a slightly darker, grayer, sharper material. So it looks quite different, but you can see that there are carvings in it that are very similar to the carvings belonging to the group.
Yes, my main thinking is there's no way we're going to accidentally make sure.
We're sneaking up
I'm
on
in
him.
the building.
Yeah.
I'm on this road. Just turn the corner. Okay. And then the other things, do they seem like the kinds of things that would need identifying magically?
I mean, to your eye, you can tell nothing about them, really. They're just a necklace and quite a heavy palm-sized stone, but little that you can discern.
Okay. I'll just show them to the group and say, is everyone happy for me to hold on to these until we find someone that can tell us what they are?
Yes.
Cool. So I'll put them away. Scroll's still out.
Scarlet will take a look at the scroll.
Okay.
I have a vague interest. She's not that interested.
I think
To do.
because of your background and because of your experience in these things, you know that this is a spell scroll, and the spell that is attached with it is the spell scroll of Melf's Minute Meteors. And you figure that if you poured over this, you would probably be able to cast it.
From spell scrolls, is it a one-off or is it a you've learned it and it's now within your repertoire?
So you can use it as a one-off. There's a DC attached to the level of spell that it is, or you can try and learn it. But I think that takes an intelligence check or an Arcana check. I can't remember. I'll look it up. But
I think there's a certain amount of hours. I know on my wizard description it mentions that because I'm evocation, it takes me less time to write up an evocation spell in my spell book. So yes, there is a time thing involved.
But yeah, you get the impression that you could learn this and you could probably employ it.
How interesting! It's a spell scroll for learning a spell for, well, essentially impacting a foe with many meteors.
Well, I'm glad we've got it, and not Ik'reth.
I might study it, perhaps.
I think that's a good idea.
Barely any cooking applications, unfortunately, but then again, I seem to be using magic for a little bit more than cooking nowadays.
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
Where
Sure.
are we heading? Sorry.
I was going to suggest that we should probably get some sleep and take
about it in
turns
the
on
morning?
watch. Yeah.
Okay. So, who wants to take first watch? Okay, Zini. Second watch, Oriana. And third watch, Tara. Okay. So, you all eventually get to sleep. And Zini, you keep watch. Nothing appears to happen. You look out over the horizon and it is quiet. The only real sound coming from the Nith Beasts and Rudigan, who is slowly becoming accustomed to these three newcomers. And the other, Rudigan, sits on your lap, cozying in, and occasionally you hear a soft... Is there anything you'd like to do on your watch?
Could I wrap Rudigan the First around my shoulders, trying my best not to wake him, and then I just would like to go out of the dome for a bit and see if I can find some particular natural items in the vicinity.
Yeah.
I am looking specifically, and I know this is difficult because it's all under snow at the moment. I'm looking specifically for a leaf of sumac and any moonseed plant and a piece of opalescent feldspar, which is a type of pearly rock.
Okay. I'll say make a survival check for me.
Not great. 11. No, hang on. 13.
So you're able to find the stone. As you sort of furrow around, like you say, everything's very much hidden by snow. But as you sort of bury in the ground a little bit, you're able to push the dirt off one stone that seems to match what you're looking for. In terms of your other items, you do have less luck. But as you look over the horizon, you look specifically towards the north, knowing that with all of the conversations and all of the different journeys your group has talked about, this is likely where you will be headed next. And looking and closing your eyes and taking in the land around you, you get the impression that if you do continue traveling, especially by land, over the next few days, you'll probably come across the things that you look for.
Cool. So as a general thing, I'll just say over the next couple of days, I'll be looking for those things.
And I will say you do find them at some point, so you can mark them on your inventory.
Thank you.
Lovely. So, anything else you want to do?
Can I, just in case, spend some hit dice? Because I am still very bloodied.
You can, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
So as you sit there bandaging yourself up, eventually, Oriana, you wake, seeing Zini just bandaging herself up and fixing parts in her armor, which you see as Zini pushes them together, this strange living bark that surrounds her seems to only appear to need prompting to close in these areas as bits of vine and bark fold over one another, covering the gaps. And Zini, you look and you see Oriana sitting up behind you.
I nod and then tuck myself in with Rudigan.
Okay. Again, Oriana, looking out, nothing appears to happen over the course of your watch, but is there anything that you would like to do?
I would like to go digging for diamonds. No, I'm joking.
I thought you were really serious there.
I was like,
Amazing.
I would like to go and get my Minecraft pickaxe and dig real deep and eventually get to diamond. No, I'm
Just
nothing.
in the morning, just Oriana running back, just going, I got a creeper, I got a creeper!
Get the creeper!
Cool. So, yeah, nothing. But you head to sleep as terror takes over. And Terra, is there anything you want to do on your watch?
Is it just me, or I know
it's
that
me
he
as
put his
well.
hand up? Yeah, that's important.
Okay.
Need to know if I'm on my own or not. Yeah, I mean, if it's both of us, then I'll just sit and do nothing.
Darth would take a seat beside you, and Ik'reth seemed mightily interested in your sword.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
Do you happen to know why?
No, I mean, I don't know the history of this sword. I suppose it's possible it had a life before I owned it. Maybe he knew it.
How did you come to own it?
It was a gift from an employer.
Who was that?
The employer. Well, that's maybe a bigger question than you might realize, and one that I can't really answer at the moment.
Fair enough. And Darth so takes the armor off and starts to, I think in the parachute, because he's got smith's tools, and he's very good with his hands. He's just going to start working those dents out, I think, over a period of time as best he can.
So, as night comes to an end and the morning comes, the sun rising, accompanied by the dunk, 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 as Dalafar, you pop out the dents and the damage in your armor. Eventually everyone wakes, and you're met with a chilly, frosty morning, leaves covered in frostbitten dew, and the sun shining down, bouncing off the snow all around you. As a fire is made in the center of your camp, and it is a new day.
Right. I think we should get moving as soon as we can if we're going to catch Ostafa.
Where is he again? Is he in Neverwinter?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's how far away?
5 days.
Okay.
It'd be a good point to roll for new hit points.
It would be, yes. So if everyone rolls for that.
So it's a D10, isn't it?
For yourself, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, reroll once, right?
Reroll once. And add your constitution.
I'm done.
Okay.
Yep, down
Yep.
here as well.
So, yeah. A new day. You're all feeling remarkably well rested, actually. Better than you've ever felt before as the sun comes over the land. Do you discuss anything or...
Well, are we all going to Neverwinter? Does anyone have anything else they want to do?
Aside from finding Ostafar, I have a friend I might drop in on in Neverwinter.
It's a lovely city. I think you'll enjoy it. Admittedly, I may have left my last employment there rather quickly without giving any notice, but I'm sure everything will be fine.
Do you know anyone there?
I know a few people. I mean, I know all of the best inns and taverns like the back of my hand, so I'm sure we will have suitable lodgings.
I look forward to the tour.
Although, unfortunately, I doubt we'll be able to get much help from high places.
Well, we'll make our way.
I think I prefer getting help from low places, actually.
Well, you haven't seen the high places of Neverwinter. They are quite enjoyable.
Dalifar just mounts his Nithbeast and said, well, let's go and find out.
I'm just going to look over at Oriana and Zini and just see if I can tell if they're both happy to go along.
I look exactly as I always do.
Okay.
See Terra looking at me and go, I'll come if you have me.
Always.
And just smile to myself and then get onto Rodigan's back.
Okay. So, mounting up, you ride. You ride north, along the coast, for 5 days. The salty air whipping against your faces, occasionally snowing as the sun rises and falls. You continue onto the next part of your journey. Back in Neverwinter. Not Neverwinter, sorry. Back in Waterdeep. The ruins of Seaspire Manor stand, silhouetted against the blue sky. The city watch stand around it, halberds upright, all of them standing to attention. Here and there, members of the public stop, especially being this one of the more well-to-do areas. People looking up, and some collector, I think, I never had the opportunity of meeting with him, but what a waste of mahogany, and people moving to and fro. But high above this, high in the rooftops, looking down at this, hidden in shadows, stand 5 individuals. All of them are covered in black leather armor. They have full face masks, cloth that is pulled over their faces, and all of them have hoods. They all look, watching, observing. They are of varying sizes. One much larger than the rest and one smaller, but another figure stood at the point of this 5-person arrow, is tall and lithe, and looks over before turning back. On all of their shoulders, patched in, there is a 5-pointed star. It was only a matter of time before we found them. It's time. We'll collect our bounty, and we will have our revenge. And that is where we will end this week's session.
Ooh.
Thank you all very much for joining us again. And once again, we will be back again next week. Same time, same bat channel. And
Yeah, I can't believe like our alternate selves from the mirror universe have come back.
I was thinking the same thing.
Me too.
Talking, then.
they all have beards. All of them have Star
We
Trek
all have
beards.
glorious facial. Even Zini, who isn't a mammal.
Just like Abed stick-on beards.
Which one's
just
missing their arm?
Yeah. We will pick up on that again next week. But in the meantime, as always, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our Twitch as well. Check out our Patreon as well if you'd like lots of lovely extra content. And we will see you again next week. But we love you very much. We hope you're keeping safe. We hope that you are keeping well in these strange, strange times. But in the meantime, we'll see you soon. Back in the office. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.